Good morning. I'm going to speak to you all today about the pursuit of a perfect life and the pursuit of a perfected life and how radically different they are. So, I lived a perfect life, or attempted to live a perfect life, for about 16 years. And it began really innocently when I was 6 years old. I was in the first grade and my teacher, Miss Glenn, issued a challenge. And it was to be the first person in the class to name all 50 states. And as a reward, the winner would receive a gold star. Now, I'm not sure how many of you remember what it's like to be 6 years old, but in the mind of a 6-year-old, stickers are the greatest thing in the world. So now imagine a metallic sticker, a shiny sticker that only one of you can have. It was like the Holy Grail, and I knew that I had to have it. And sure enough, I did. And winning the sticker was a day I would never forget, because it was the first time in my life that I remember feeling so proud. And it was the first time that I had an adult in my life that wasn't a parent look at me with so much pride as well. And so as a 6-year-old, I associated this feeling of pride with the sticker, with the gold star, and started to chase them. I started to chase the gold stars. Now, as we grow up, these stars evolve and change. They become trophies, good grades, high test scores, getting into the right college, getting the right job, and eventually keeping up with the Joneses, or living off the list, as I call it, living by the list. So let's look at the list. The list is made up of things like fancy job titles, having a string of impressive letters behind your name, and having money to buy the house, the car, the clothes, the shoes, the material measurements of success, the objects that show that we have value, that we have worth, and that we've made it, and that we're someone with a capital S. So I was highly effective in chasing these gold stars until I graduated from college. And then I had no idea what I was doing with my life, so I decided that it would be a fabulous idea to move to New York because it sounded kind of sexy and cool. So I get to New York, I don't have a job, I still don't know what I'm doing, and I realize I'm the slowest rat in the race. And that really, really scared me. And it was confusing and disorienting. And so after a few months, I started to feel extremely unhappy. And so I retreated home with my tail between my legs. Now, when I came home, at first it was really, really comfortable, and I was like, oh, thank God I'm back. And then it became a nightmare, because I felt like I was jumped by a gang of list enforcers. The people who were asking me, why couldn't you cut it in the big city? What are you doing with your life? You've always had it so together. What's going on with you? And when are you going to get a job? So I went out and I found a job. And I became a teacher's aide at a refugee resettlement agency, which I think was and still is amazing work. But it was an unpaid internship and it was at a nonprofit. So then the question shifted from, when are you going to find a job, to when are you going to get a real job? And so I went out and I found a real job. And I became the brand manager of an unknown product at the time called Go-Go Pets that went on to become the 2009 toy hit phenomenon, Zuzu Pets, which also catapulted me from a brand manager to the vice president of marketing for the company. Finally, I had the fancy title, and I was feeling pretty darn good. And the company was feeling pretty darn good because we sold this product into millions of homes. We expanded into 60 countries. It was voted as Toy of the Year. And personally, I was nominated as a woman to watch in the toy industry. I was voted 30 under 30 by the St. Louis Business Journal. And I was able to conduct media interviews with incredible outlets like the New York Times, Los Angeles Times, and even Time magazine itself. I wasn't just living by the list at this point. I felt like I was dominating the list, and it felt good. And guess what? The list enforcers loved me, and they loved telling me how perfect my life was. And at first, that was really, really validating, because I looked at it, and according to all metrics of success, my life was perfect. But then something strange started to happen. as the months went on, and as I found myself truly just committing every single part of me to this chase and to this pursuit, I started to feel an undercurrent of unhappiness. But how could that even make sense? Because I supposedly had everything, so how could I even be unhappy? It was illogical. But the feeling got stronger and stronger, and the more I thought about it, I realized that I was actually sacrificing everything in my personal life, which coincidentally is your real life, for this chase. And so, in true quarter-life crisis form, I quit my job, I traveled as much as I could, and I sojourned after what I would very simply call my truth, though at the time I had no idea what that was, I had no idea where I was going to find it, but I just knew that I had to try. And everyone thought that I was completely nuts. And I will be honest, after about 2 years, I started to think that maybe I was nuts too. Because living off of the list is one of the hardest things that you will ever learn to do or try to do. There are no signs pointing you in the right direction. There's no playbook. There's really nothing. So if living on the list is being on a well-paved road with signs pointing you everywhere, living off the list is like being parachuted in the middle of a densely wooded forest with nothing more than your intuition to guide you. And that's scary, and it's hard, and it's uncomfortable. So here I am, I'm starting to think that maybe I am a little nuts. And then I think an even more painful thought came to my mind. And the thought was, maybe I just want too much out of life. Maybe I'm wrong to want more. Maybe I should just be happy with this. Everyone else seems like it should be enough. And then, what I will just call here, frankly, by the grace of God, some serious spiritual wisdom was introduced into my life. The two most powerful lessons for me being that, number one, the purpose of life is transformation. And secondly, that it's the destiny and birthright of all human beings to be happy and fulfilled. So let's go back to the forest. Let's go back to how uncomfortable and scary it is living off the list, being in the middle of the woods here. And now what's interesting is when you think about the actual physical laws of nature in the universe, what you find is this, is that in order for an object to be transformed, it must be subjected to either extreme physical pressure or extreme changes in temperature for that transformation to be achieved. And so as human beings, there is a part of us, and it's really, I think, the animal within that wants to be safe and it wants to be comfortable. But on a soul level, if we want to be transformed, we have to be willing to be uncomfortable. We have to be willing to subject ourselves to the pressure. And more than anything, we have to break out of the cocoon. Now, I want to go to this next one, that it's the destiny and birthright of all human beings to be happy and fulfilled. And this is what allowed me to untangle this web of confusion that I felt so trapped in. Because all this time I had been thinking that the purpose of life was to be successful, whatever that was. And to be really honest, I think a part of me just believed that happiness was the given, not the goal. And so I thought about these times when I felt the unhappiness and I felt like it was wrong and I shouldn't be feeling it, when in fact, maybe that was really significant. Maybe the unhappiness was directional. And as I began to untangle these things, I decided that I needed to look at the list again. I needed to look at what did the job title, the chain of letters behind my name, the money, the house, the cars, the clothes, the shoes, the watches, what did it really mean, and what did I really think I was supposed to be getting from them? And when I started to break it down, what I really saw was this, is that it's not about the object itself. It's about how we think it's going to contribute to our sense of self. And when we look at what we think we're getting from all of these things, we find that what we're really after is respect, love, security, freedom, value, worth, happiness, and fulfillment. Now, I want to issue a disclaimer here because there are many people that appear to live by the list and they have an amazing life. But what I want to point out is this: these people that I know never violated these intangibles and still do not violate these intangibles in their pursuit of success. But for people that I have met who are incredibly successful, but who frankly just seem unhappy or discontent, the reoccurring theme is that they violated these intangibles. They violated these things that really mattered, because the truth is, it's not the materials that are the compass of where we're supposed to be going in life. It's these intangibles that are the compass. Now, as I wrap this up here, my wish for all of you is this: let go of this idea of a perfect life, because it's not real and none of us are really going to get it. But what we can absolutely get, and what I wish for everyone here, is to have a perfected life. And this is a life of authenticity. This is a life where you are willing to look at yourself honestly and listen to yourself honestly, and where you're not shying away from the messiness or the unhappiness, but rather looking at it critically and understanding that it's an indication that you may not be where you're supposed to be just yet, but you're in the process and you're going to get there, and to have faith in that. And before I leave, I want to share with you one of my favorite quotes, because I cannot tell you how many times over the years people have told me that what I am seeking is unrealistic, and they have even called my version of reality Natopia, which I love. And this quote is, "People who urge you to be realistic generally want you to accept their version of reality. Do not be afraid to create your own reality. And even if you are afraid, do it anyways." Thank you.